Someone drops off a Honda Dio 56 at your garage. It's been sitting in a shed for 15 years, rust everywhere, paint gone. The guy who brings it is already apologizing. Everyone who sees it says the same word, scrapyard. You don't say that word, you pull it inside and close the door. First diagnosis on the DIO, compression test. You press the gauge to the engine and kick it over. The needle barely moves. On a healthy engine, it should jump to at least 120 psi. This one gives you almost nothing. The engine has been sitting so long it's forgotten what pressure even feels like. You write it down. You keep going. The carburetor comes off the Dio next. This little part is basically the lungs of the engine. It mixes air and fuel before combustion. After 15 years of sitting, the old fuel inside turned into varnish. The main jet, a tiny hole fuel passes through, is completely sealed. You hold it up to the light. Nothing gets through. You drop everything into cleaner fluid and go make coffee. The coffee gets cold. You make another one. Next problem on the DIO, valve clearances. These are tiny gaps between the valves and the camshaft that need to be exactly right, measured in fractions of a millimeter. On this engine, they're completely off. Too tight means the valves can't close properly, killing compression. You go through each one with a feeler gauge, adjusting by hand, checking again. It takes an hour. For 4 valves, you do it anyway. When you pull the piston out of the Dio's engine, it tells you everything. The piston rings, small metal rings that seal compression inside the cylinder, are worn completely flat. There's carbon built up in thick layers from 15 years of neglect. The cylinder walls have scratch marks they shouldn't have. This engine didn't just stop. It was worn down slowly over a long time by someone who stopped paying attention. You sit with it in your hand for a while. New piston rings go in. New head gasket. Every single bolt on the Dio gets torqued by hand, not with an impact gun, because old engines don't forgive shortcuts. You're putting back together a machine that hasn't run since before smartphones existed. You treat every part like it remembers being new, because maybe it does. It's 2 a.m. The Honda Dio is fully reassembled. Fresh fuel in the tank, cleaned carburetor back on, new spark plug, valve clearances set. Everything you could do, you did. You sit on a stool and look at it. 15 years of problems addressed in one night. And now comes the part you can't control. You stand up, you walk to the Kickstarter, you put your foot on it. First kick on the Dio. Nothing. Second kick, nothing. Third kick, something. Not a start. Not even close to a start. But somewhere deep inside that engine, something moved that hadn't moved in 15 years. You felt it through the Kickstarter. A tiny resistance like a pulse. Faint, but real. You don't stop. You adjust the choke on the Dio's carburetor just slightly. The choke restricts airflow to richen the fuel mix for a cold start. 3 hours ago, you wouldn't have known to do that. Now your hands just know. You kick again. The Dio coughs. Actually coughs. Like something waking up mid-sentence after 15 years of silence, not sure where it is. You don't move. You don't breathe. You kick one more time.
The Honda Dio starts. It stumbles at first. Rough, confused, like it's remembering how to exist. Then the idle smooths out. The garage fills with a sound that wasn't there 5 minutes ago, and wasn't there for 15 years before that. A small 2-stroke engine, barely 50 cubic centimeters, running in a garage at 2 a.m. You don't cheer, you don't film it, you just stand there with grease on your hands and listen. Because some things don't need a reaction. They just need a witness. The Honda Dio that everyone called scrap metal is parked outside in the morning sun. It's not perfect. It'll need more work, more tuning, more nights, but it's running. A machine that sat forgotten in a shed since before most people had a smartphone is alive again because someone decided the word scrap wasn't final. Turns out metal doesn't have a soul, but patience is something else entirely.